Well, hello everyone, and welcome back for another discussion. Today, was thinking, and I think I want to talk about the big question. I don't know, the biggest question I think is on my mind at any given time, and that is, why is there something instead of nothing? Why do we even exist at all? Like, now we can okay. Let's look at the or the scientific viewpoint first of all. Why is there something instead of nothing? Well, we actually don't know. This is a real problem. What is the Big Bang? Why did the Big Bang happen? Is the Big Bang even a thing? So I guess the theory is that once upon a time there was nothing except for everything was a singularity. That singularity decided to not stop being a singularity somehow. Decided it did what I don't know what would have catalyzed that. If there was nothing but a singularity, what would catalyze that singularity to go boom? This has led to other theories that maybe we're in a bouncing universe where it's expansion and collapse, and we come in and out, and so it's more of a motion state where matter disperses and comes back in, and there's that. But none of the answers are particularly satisfying. And the truth of the matter is if they're right that this is more than like 14 billion years ago or whatever it is, like, what are we ever going to be advanced enough to put together the pieces of the origin, right? Like, I mean, the sign of the Big Bang right now, like we have this cosmic background radiation, right? Like, and you've seen this before if you're old enough to know what the little dots on the TVs. When I was a kid, we called them ant fights on our black and white TVs, and you'd have these ant fights, and it was just the interference, just the overall interference of electromagnetic that's just kind of everywhere all the time, just always there, just in a really light state, bouncing around since 14 billion years ago at the Big Bang, or at least that's what they tell us. It's our best guess, and I don't think we really know. I'm not sure how well we have it nailed down. We've talked before on this channel about how I don't really trust experts. They're as hyperbolic and clickbaity as anybody else these days, it seems. I'm not saying abandon science. I'm just saying that capitalism changes the way that we do things, and our goals start becoming more about money than they are about actual progress. And so we live in a hyperbolic state, or a clickbait state, where we say things, and we say them with higher degree of confidence than we should. We maybe make claims that aren't really accurate the way that they're headlined, and so I don't know that we're ever going to get anywhere in actually understanding how we got here. Why is there something instead of nothing? Like that is, I don't know if you ever sat around and thought about this. This is something I think about probably way too much, because this is an unsettling question to me, right? This one really aggravates that pit in the stomach that it really makes life uncomfortable. And that's because without, like, I guess to me, it seems like it would be easier to find purpose if we understood the origin. Now, I don't know what purpose we could find with the facts that we have that would define that purpose, right? Like, and I guess I'm saying, like, wouldn't it be interesting if we could actually prove that there was a God, or we could actually prove we were in a simulation, and maybe there was something we could do to appease this simulation creator, and like all of that would make purpose a little more obvious, right? And so we get stuck in this place where, I don't know, I guess I would consider myself an absurdist. Like, it's just absurd. We're here. Like, it's almost, I guess it's so absurd that sometimes I have likened this problem, the why is there something instead of nothing, as like the greatest conspiracy theory that has ever existed. Like, if you look at the facts that underpin us being here, it doesn't make sense that we are. Like, we have laws like of physics that say you can't, like, things are conserved. Like, you can't create something from nothing. You can convert energy and mass back and forth, but you can't create energy or mass from nothing. You need something to start with, and you can convert that at will. But there's a requirement to have a start, which that creates a real problem in how did the first thing come into existence? How did that first, I don't know, was it a photon? I don't know. A photon may not even be an actual particle. I'm not sure we know that it has substance to it. But even so, we've got, I don't know, neutrons, protons, quarks below that. Like, which one of those came in first? Like, was it the proton with its, I don't know, up and down quarks or whatever the hell it is? I don't know. I don't know physics that well, but what was it that created something? And then how did that happen so many more times that we got all of the universe? Like, where did that come from? Because nothing doesn't come from something. And I know, like, if you're a religious person, oh great, God created. Okay, but that doesn't fix the problem. In my mind, that doesn't do anything for this problem, because okay, where'd God come from then? And where'd the thing that made God come from? And like, at some point, this question becomes so broken. Like, even if you have an answer, there's always a new level, because didn't something have to come from nothing at some point? It is monumentally difficult to imagine that something could exist without a reason, without a cause, without something else existing before it. But if that didn't happen at some point, we couldn't be here. Because there is no satisfying answer, right? Like, let's say it's a simulation or it's God, whatever. Like, what? How did the simulator creator come to be? How did the God come to be? There's no answer to this. And I guess this is one of the reasons that I like the old, the ways that I used to hear, Alan Watts speak about, some of the views of the afterlife in Eastern cultures, where I guess he poses the idea that we're just the dream of a big consciousness. And even that is unsatisfying, because, well, what caused consciousness? Wouldn't consciousness be something that had to start existing at some point? Like, it's just a deeply unsettling question, because I can't even imagine an answer that would make sense. I can't imagine a way for either everything to have always been here in existence, there would have always been something like that, or there had to be something that catalyzed it, but then there would still be something that needed to create that catalyzation. And I feel like I should be high, because I'm just going to talk myself in circles, because I don't know how to explain how incredibly complex this is. I don't know. Maybe nobody else thinks about this. Maybe I'm the only one that finds this deeply unsettling. Maybe that's why I like looking at it, right? And I guess maybe I only see that problem because I'm a deeply unsettled person who struggles to find purpose. Like, I'm curious. I enjoy learning and other things, but there's a limit to what those facts can do for me. I suppose that's why I focus on psychology and physics, is because I think those are the biggest areas that I think will, I don't know, give me answers in the most unsettling areas of life. Like consciousness, the hard problem of consciousness is also like probably in here. And I guess maybe that's the best answer I've been able to come up with, is by comparing this to consciousness and thinking about consciousness. We don't really understand consciousness, but I think our best theory of consciousness is that it's an emergent property from the physiology of our brain. We have a brain that we have some kind of experience in, and something about that causes this emergence of this consciousness that would not be there if we didn't have this emergent properties. And we see this in other things, right? Like we do see things where something becomes greater than the sum of its parts. It's really fascinating. Like ants, like any kind of swarming insect actually kind of does this, but ants are a great example because ants have like their roles and they like chemically signal each other and they all work together as a hive. They all work for the hive. They all kind of work for the queen. They don't necessarily have like individual mentality. I don't like, we aren't sure that an individual would necessarily decide what it's doing more than it would just do what the chemical signaling, the pheromones do. And if that's true, then how is an ant colony different than our bodies? Like, we have a body and we emerge into a person, but our personhood, or our being an animal even, is the conglomeration of these cells, and those cells are a conglomeration of atoms. And you have atoms come together to emerge and create new things. Like think about it. You take a toxic metal like sodium and a poisonous gas like chlorine. You put them together, they combine, and it turns into a salt that we will die if we don't have. But if we take either one of those two and eat even like a small amount, a couple of drops of chlorine gas in a room with us would be enough to like scar, if not kill, most of us through scarring of the lungs, right? The corrosive nature. Like it would be devastating to be in a room with just a few drops of chlorine or gas. And sodium is, I mean, it's explosive. In water, you take a chunk of sodium the size of like a little pebble or something, and you eat that, your stomach's going to blow up. It's actually going to get crazy. But you combine them together and we can't live without those being in our body. It's a completely new thing. It's a little white rock that we get when we combine them together. But individually, you got a piece of soft metal that behaves a lot like lead or something. You can cut it with knives. You can kind of manipulate it pretty easily. Sodium's kind of cool. Like, at least I've never played with it, but I've seen it played with, like on videos and shit. But like, it's interesting because then you have those come together and then they combine. And it's a completely new chemical with properties completely different than the chemical properties of the original items. And so that, in a way, is emergent. But you take a number of these things like salts and waters and, other carbons and, just all kinds of other atoms. And we have this life thing that we are that assembles all these and puts them together. And then we emerge into like an animal. Now, would it be alive if I were to, I don't know, cut off a part of my body? And would that part of my body still be alive? Well, the cells would be alive for a while. They do a few things, but they're going to dry out. They're going to run out. They're not going to have anything feeding them nutrition, and they're going to end up starving out because they don't have the remainder of the mechanism, right? Like a finger of mine wouldn't be able to survive on its own. It does need me as part of that, but I don't need the finger. And so this emergent concept of, well, what is a person? Well, it's a collection of cells that they are, but you don't need all of those cells. So are all of those cells part of the person? And what about like the microbes in us? Like there's more microbes. There are more microbial cells in us than there are our own person cells. We're more DNA that isn't us than is us. Are those part of us? Is that part of our emergent consciousness? Is that part of anything? Does it matter? Could we kill all those microbes and do just fine? Do we need them? Like most animals have co-evolved with other organisms, and there's bacteria that we have in our guts and our nasal passages that live on our skin. And sometimes these things that are normal and live within us and we actually can get a little bit unhealthy without, can actually turn on us. Like staph lives on our skin all the time, but you get it cut and that can turn into a pretty serious infection. And it's just a virus or a microbe of some sort that just kind of lives on most of our skins most of the time. It's kind of wild to think about. Why do some cuts turn into such a big problem and others are not? I don't have the answers to questions. I'm sure somebody does, but I don't. And so are we a conglomeration of all of those organisms too? All of those cells? Is that part of what is emerging into us? And so if consciousness is an emergent property like that, it makes you wonder if we would be like a consciousness that like in these Eastern cultures where maybe the creator isn't so much a creator that is trying to control everything, but rather more of a passive portion of existence that's causing existence to be. Now, I don't understand it real well, but there is a scientific theory that claims that they can that their theory is that the entire universe is just a hologram. Everything we're seeing is an illusion. all of the universe is illusory. And I don't really understand the mechanisms by which they decided that, but there's something about, I don't know, the way the universe works that I don't know. I really just did not understand most of the big words in that paper. And so I really can't say I came to understand it. But it is an interesting theory that we actually have scientists out there who are at such a high level thinking that they can actually go, well, what if this is a hologram? And if it is a hologram, wouldn't that kind of just be like the big brain theory, imagining everything? I don't know. It's interesting. But then it's hard to reconcile our experience. Why do I have my experience? If I'm part of this thing that's just dreaming, wouldn't that be like a world where that had all the experience? Why am I having an experience? Like if this is like, I guess if we look at it through like simulation theory, why would I have an individual consciousness? Why would I have an individual AI? Why wouldn't the simulation just do everything? Why wouldn't the why wouldn't I be aware of that or be reduced to only the instructions I'm given? And I guess that's the problem, right? Like, I guess that's the problem. Why I even get into this question is wouldn't it be easier to know what I'm supposed to do? Or wouldn't it be easier to understand my purpose? Or wouldn't it be better to understand my role if I had answers of where I fit into the universe, what I did, why I was here, why we were like, I don't know, man. I feel like I've been talking about this for a while, and I mostly just expressed the frustration of how deeply unsettling a question it is. And I don't know. Maybe people don't want to hear me talk about this kind of stuff, but I guess I got to talk about weird stuff sometimes. Anyway, so there's some unsettling thoughts for you. I guess I'm getting a little insecure, so I guess I'm going to wrap this up because I don't really know what else to say other than it's all deeply unsettling. And with that, be well.